Hey everybody, Douglas Blair Roberts here, the Super Beta 400, the Brown Skin Human, and of course, Mr. the Fanboy here, back at you with another pro wrestling pay-per-view series review, and this time, this is my review and rant. This is the intro to my review and rant on various Impact Wrestling pay-per-views from 2004 through 9, but most of them will be from 2004 through 7 and 8. But this period of Impact Wrestling, the 2004 through 6 period has some of the best pay-per-views. The 2007 through 9 era had some entertaining pay-per-views, had some entertaining but crappy, but in my opinion, crappy, weird, and stupid pay-per-views. Some of them some of them were crappy because they had either weak cards or they had good cards, but main evented by in my opinion the wrong people. 2007 and 8 are the biggest examples of what I am talking about. So that's why that will be a rant. That will mostly be a rant. But most of the ones from 2004 through 6 were for the most part awesome. But there will be a couple of rants. So my intro, one of my intros, and my outro will definitely be what I'm made of for several, because there were several stupid booking decisions between 2004 and 6, and there were a lot between 2007 through 9 that will never get better again until 2011 and really 2014. So a big 7-year difference, 7-year gap of crap is what we would see. So with that being said, let's get started right now. Is it me? You say you're looking for? Let me show you who I am and what I'm here for. Here for. Hey, trying to reach inside of me, trying to get my energy. Let me show you just what I'm made of. Simple curiosity. Trying to take a bite of me. Let me show you just what I'm made of now. Hey everybody, it's time for the results portion of my review of Impact Wrestling Hard Justice 2007, which is this is interesting because this is a pay-per-view that a lot of people consider to be a bad pay-per-view from TNA Impact Wrestling, and on the Wrestling Observer, it has its 2007 spot as the worst major wrestling pay-per-view show. I, for one, I saw a couple of matches from this show back when shortly after it aired in 2007, but I never saw it in its full entirety until actually recently. And I must say, I have a couple of issues, but this, for the most part, was an awesome show. The only issue I have with this show is that the whole thing, apart from maybe a couple of matches, could have probably been on Impact. Apart from a couple of matches and the main event, could have been on Impact. Everything I guess on this show could have been on Impact. On an episode of Impact, and the thing felt like a 3-hour episode of Impact. That's the only flaw I have. Flaw I have with this awesome pay-per-view. You start the show off with X Division action. You had the team of Triple X, Low Key, Skipper, and Daniels. I can't remember which two were actually in the match though. Whether it was, I think it was Daniels and Low Key with Skipper in their corner. The Motor City Machine Guns, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal, a 3-way X Division tag team match. Like I said, lots of spots. It's your usual typical X Division match. Everyone did their big moves that you would expect from these guys. Most memorable moves were Skipper hitting his sidekick on one of the members, then his top rope Hurricanrana. That was the most memorable move. Jay Lethal won with the small package on someone and started brawling with those characters after the match. And not brawling, but a fight broke out in the end with the teams breaking it up. Next was what I consider to be fight of the night, and that was Kazarian, the recently turned babyface Kazarian, now going by Kaz, taking on Raven with Mater and Havoc of Sarah Tonin. Raven, my opinion, by this point I was kind of getting sick of him. Despite being a huge fan of his, he was just stale. The peak of his career was the Monsters Ball, Bound for Glory. After that, he started the Sarah Tonin stable, which I'm mixed towards. I liked it because this is what I was into at the time. I was into this at the time, and I understand the purpose of it. It was meant to put over these three young guys. Raven passing off his knowledge to a younger generation, and Kaz in my opinion was the best of the three. It was Kazarian, Matt Bentley, or Matt Maverick, whatever he's calling himself. He has multiple names, and Johnny Devine, Team Canada's Johnny Devine. But I was happy when they split up and Kazarian got the push, and I wanted Kazarian to defeat Raven, and I had to defeat Raven, and Raven maybe wrestle a couple of more nostalgia matches for Impact Wrestling, and then part ways with Impact Wrestling, and that's basically what happened. He would later return. He would later return in the future though. So Kazarian won with his jumping calf kick finisher. Next was Rhino wrestling James Storm in a pretty good but forgettable, dull, and uninteresting feud. Rhino, just look at what Rhino was 1 to 2 years ago. Last year, he was in one of the biggest feuds ever, where he was in a feud with Joe and Monty Brown, two of the toughest and biggest wrestlers in Impact Wrestling. And a year before that, he was in the title picture. He was in the title. Now look, feuding with James Storm over alcohol. So that's what it was. Then I don't remember the winner. I think James Storm won. I think he won. Next was one of my favorites, the James Gang. Two of the only WWE has-beens, WWE wrestlers from WWE that I actually enjoy and wish Impact Wrestling would have done more with them. And that was the James Gang. Brian James, aka famously known as the Road Dogg, Jesse James from WWE, and Kip James famously known as Mr. Ass Badass, Billy Gunn from WWE, taking on Homicide and Hernandez, LAX. This was a good fight. This was a good fight. It didn't go as long as I had hoped. The James Gang initially won, but Hector Guerrero came out in support of LAX, who LAX laid him out months earlier, in support of LAX, and convinced him that it was cool, that it was LAX, that the James Gang cheated, and that they were the champions. And the match was restarted, and LAX pinned the James Gang. So that was that. Next was Eric Young defeating Robert Roode, defeating Eric Young in an ultimate humiliation match. I can't remember who won. It was an ultimate humiliation match. And after the match, they caught Tracy and tarred and feathered her and chased Bobby Roode out. This feud between Eric Young and Robert Roode was stupid, but I understand the purpose of the feud. It was a generous sympathy and babyface. Sympathy for the Eric Young character, who's a comedic underdog during this period, and extreme heel heat for the Bobby Roode character. Then next you had what was after this match? Oh yeah, you had James Storm. Oh no, then you had in a no contest, Black Reign, they're beating up and squashing Chris Harris. See, this right here, you could have done this. You could have quote unquote done this. You could have quote unquote done this match. You could have quote unquote you could have done this on Impact Wrestling. What was the point of putting a squash no contest on what's his name with just Black Reign beating up and handcuffing Chris Harris and beating him to an inch of his life. That's all we got. Black Reign was another. This was voted worst gimmick of 2007, but I like this version of Goldust. This was another former WWE superstar who actually enjoyed for the short time he was here. Here, and it sucks that Chris Harris, one of your younger guys, the guys who should be your guys, was buried here. Can you blame him for leaving? Everyone blames him for parting ways with Impact Wrestling. Look at the way he was being booked during this period. Can you blame him for leaving? Yeah, it was a worst career move, but can you blame him? Look at how he was utilized here. Then you got the main events. You have the late great Andrew Martin. This was his first and only match in Impact Wrestling, because this happened during the time of the Benoit trial. He came in heavily juiced, teaming with Sting and Abyss, the babyface team, taking on the heels, the Christian coalition of Christian Cage, AJ Styles, and Tom Cole. This was a phenomenal six-man tag team cage match with weapons. Match ended with Christian abandoning his team, leaving AJ Styles to the wolves, and AJ Styles bled. I think it was first blood, and AJ Styles took the pinfall order, was the guy who bleed, thus losing. This would set up AJ Styles and Tom Cole turning on Christian in early 2008 during his 2 pay-per-view matches against Kurt Angle. Next was main event, Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. Before this, they did a storyline on Impact where Karen broke off her engagement to Kurt Angle and was seeing a new guy, and Kurt Angle comically throughout the night was trying to see who this guy was, having JB go around snooping around and stuff, leading to a hilarious comedy gold. Then the match starts, and this is one of my favorite matches of the Kurt Angle Samoa Joe series. This and their lockdown MMA cage fight the following year. This was an awesome wrestling and sports entertainment match. It had the technical wrestling you expect from a Kurt Angle match, but it also had the sports entertainment elements. Sports entertainment elements. When I was watching this younger, when I was younger watching this, I was focused on match quality. I didn't know who I wanted to win. And the swerve, I saw it coming, but then again, at the same time, I didn't see it coming. The swerve, which was Karen turning on Joe, allowing Angle to hit the win and win at this point every title. However, he would lose the tag team titles and the X Division title at the next pay-per-view, which was No Surrender 2007, another awesome pay-per-view. So with that being said, this was my results portion of Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling Hardcore, Impact Wrestling Hard Justice. Get ready for the match reviews coming next.
What we were talking about with Saban and Shelley is you saw Saban just take the head, put it right in the boots, and Alex Shelley, look at this chemistry. Look at how they work so well. It's almost like they're one piece of machinery, man. One right after the other, and they're just so in sync, Mike. Absolutely poetry in motion. Pin attempt. Two count only Shelley on Black Machismo. First G Lethal's career. Really turned the corner on him. He became X Division champion a few months ago. As we see Shelley standing on the afro and then takes the boots and scrapes him right across the eyes and face of Jay Lethal.
I think it was low key and Dan was with Skipper out there with him. I don't know which members were in the match. Followed by the Machine Gun, Saban, and Shelley, and Sergeant Duck, and
very long, barely able to grasp what it means, and then Samoa Joe was able to get it back. The three-way situation, and you know he's hungry for it again. And Cincy, a man who has held that X Division title belt on numerous occasions now in the ring, and he's somebody also. What a drop kick!
That was Edith Skipper when the referee was trying to untangle Alex Shelley. Edith Skipper came in and nailed one of the other members with a martial arts kick, then put him on the turnbuckle for his rope walk into Hurricanrana. That was the only memorable, that was the only quote-unquote memorable maneuver. Then the next maneuver was, what happened next? Nothing next after that.
Right there, but Jay Lethal able to get that shoulder just in time. Man, what a quick knee. Right to the head. Number one contender to the X Division champ, fallen in Christopher Daniels, continuing the advantage. Worn down Black Machismo, Jay Lethal going to try and fight back from down under, but quickly cut off, and then Sanjay got taken out by Daniels as well.
Calmed him down after it was over. So like I said, great exhibition match to start this show. Nothing really memorable. Only thing I was missing was Pete Warriors. But other than that, good exhibition match. Now it's time for the match of the night. And that's Kazarian and Raven, which that will be reviewed on camera. So get ready.
Just what a leap. He hugged him. And obviously, Raven was being a little bit genuine, and Cass out. Cass was the one setting up Raven, not the other way around. Yeah, here's your handshake, Raven.
Hey everyone.
Cass swinging a kendo stick, takes him down. Right off the back, and then Raven elevates him over the top, and he went crashing down on the floor. Wait a minute, but look at this. Raven now realizes he's got Cass down there, and looks like he's going to try to go through. He does. He drop kicks it, but he ends up hitting.
Respectively taking on my boy Kazarian, going by Cass during this period.
During this period. This might have been his match of the night. Boy, what a fight it was. What a fight it was. And look at that. You see all the rest of Sarah Tony laying down. Cass has got to be feeling good about himself at this moment.
In my opinion, even though despite being a huge fan of his, I was kind of getting sick of him. I was kind of getting sick of him, and this serotonin idea was mixed towards it. I liked the stable and the gimmick, and this is what I was into at the time. This is what I was into at the time, but Raven, by this point, was just like sick of him. So I
like how the best of the three members, Kazarian, rebelled against him, and I understand the purpose of this story was for Raven to pass on his teachings to three new guys and put over one of them, and one of them was Kazarian. Love Kazarian during this period. During this period, really wish TNA would pull the trigger on him and made a star by having him feud with the top guys. They started doing that at Sacrifice of next year when he took the place of Angle in the three-way, in the triple threat match, but then went back to the mid-card, then he took him on TV, then he became Suicide before returning to his character in 2010, only played second fiddle to once again people like AJ Styles, Sting, and a bunch of former WWE stars for pretty much the rest of his TNA Impact Wrestling career. But this was an awesome fight. Right here, before the match started, you heard in the background, Raven tried to recruit Kazarian back into San Antonio, saying, understand, Kaz, you want to be your own man. You want to be your own man. Kaz pretended to accept the invitation by hugging him, but then took the kendo stick and clobbered all of them. He then tried high risk move on Raven. Raven reversed him from cross-body to the outside of the ring. Then Raven up for his signature baseball slide drop kick. Kazarian pulled Marner in the way who took the brunt of that attack. Raven then hit his signature Russian leg sweep into the barricade rail on Kazarian. Kazarian tried an electric chair maneuver, but Raven reversed it, I think, into a victory roll. Either Raven or Kazarian, one of them tried an electric chair maneuver, one of them reversed it into a victory roll for a 2 count. And the teams kept exchanging moves, and punches. Havoc and Nara got involved, but Kazarian managed to hit the jumping calf kick, his signature jumping calf kick, which keeps getting what he calls that, on Raven for the 1, 2, 3, and this quick, but awesome fight. Really wish he could have went a little bit longer, but it is what it was. And after this, Raven, they would use him the way they should use him. He wrestled a bunch of nostalgic hardcore matches, and then parted ways with Impact Wrestling until 2 years later when he returned. 2 years later when he returned. Yeah, awesome fight. In my opinion, this right here, along with the main event, along with the main event, the LAX and James Game match, and the Black Rain Chris Harris beatdown, these were matches segments of the night. So with that being said, yeah, get ready for the Hernandez, the LAX James Game match. That's coming next.
Right hands and forearm shots. Man, that was precision. That was speed. That's what Kaz needed to do. Beautiful.
This is my review and rant on what I consider to be one of the best matches of the night. That was LAX, Hernandez, and Homicide taking on Billy Gunn, Kip James, Billy Gunn, and Road Dogg Jesse James, Brian James, in Impact Wrestling, the James Game. This was a pretty good tag team match. Everyone hit a lot of big moves, nothing really memorable or special other than Billy Gunn's attire, and the power bomb he did on Homicide, the power moves he did on Homicide and Hernandez. And the announcers trying to sell us that Hernandez is the strongest guy in the match. When Billy Gunn, Kip James looks to be just as strong as Hernandez. Billy Gunn and Kip James win through underhanded tactics. Hector Guerrero surprisingly comes out and have the match overturned, and Hernandez, I think with the Hernandez bomb, pins Kip James or Brian James for the 1, 2, 3. For the 1, 2, 3, and Hector Guerrero makes peace with LAX, who of course attacked him and laid him out months earlier. So yeah, great match, but he wasn't given a lot of time. This is my review of the main event. Between the first of your double main event, the 6 Sides of Steel Cage First Blood match between the Christian Coalition, the heels Christian Cage, AJ Styles, and Tom Cole, taking on Abyss, Andrew Punisher Test Martin, the late great Andrew Punisher Test Martin, and Sting. Before I start the match, let's first talk about a couple things about this match. First, it sucks this was only Test's only match in Impact Wrestling. I was looking forward to him coming back strong in Impact Wrestling. It sucks this was his only match. Impact Wrestling had to quickly fire him because this happened around just mere months, just 2 months after the Benoit murders, after the quote-unquote Benoit murders. Next, murder-suicide. Next, match was awesome. However, this looks like something that could have been on Impact. This could have been a main event of Impact. But a phenomenal match, nonetheless. A phenomenal match, nonetheless. So let me start the match in the background. The match started off with pushing. When they came out, they immediately started double teaming the Abyss. Andrew Test Martin came out and started loading on everyone. Christian Cage tried to jump him, but he was knocking everyone around. Then the lights went out and Sting, instead of coming from the babyface turtle, he just randomly appeared in the ring and hit Tom Cole with a brutal steel chair shot, and there were just weapons and action everywhere. AJ Styles hit Abyss with a cool Izagiri. After several moves, Christian Cage abandoned his team by leaving them to the wolves, and leaving AJ Styles to get beat up and bloody, and eventually lose the match. I think he got Black Hole Slam on some tacks for the 1, 2, 3. This was set up. AJ Styles and Tom Cole turning on him at Against All Odds and Final Resolution 2008. Mere months after this.
As you can see, Christian Cage, I think, realized trying to get Sting over to it. Sting uses
this match made me hate Christian even more for abandoning Styles and Tom Cole like that. This was also during the time where they were doing this crappy Christian Cage. Even though he's lost in Impact Wrestling numerous times, he had never been pinned or submitted, but still lost numerous times. I hated that garbage. This is what they were doing. I think this came to an end at Bound for Glory. Sucks injury. Test Martin couldn't stay longer. But a good main event. Only problem I had was it's something that could have been on Impact.
Again, you see Joe pushes him out of the ring.
Hey everybody, it's time for my review of the main event of Hardcore Justice 2007, and that was Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. Don't know what about it is. Don't know what about this match I like, but I love this match. This is my favorite of their numerous encounters. This and their lockdown cage MMA fight are my favorites of the Samoa Joe Kurt Angle rivalry from Impact Wrestling. This was both a great wrestling and sports entertainment match. You had the technical wrestling associated with Kurt Angle match. We also had the sports entertainment hijinks, such as Joe pulling Kurt's tights down. When Kurt takes the straps down, one of my favorite parts, when he takes the straps down, the babyface constantly pulling his tights down, and then you had Kurt Angle constantly focusing on Karen Angle and the new man she was seeing, who I think was the trademark guy who does John Cena and Kurt Angle's Impact Wrestling things. Kurt kept trying to get in his face, but kept getting distracted and beat up by Joe, when it looked like Joe had when victory was at hand for Samoa Joe, Karen Angle, the other guy, revealed their true intentions and distracted him long enough for Kurt Angle to get the advantage, hit Joe with the chair and the Angle Slam for the 1, 2, 3. Thus winning the IWGP, thus winning every belt in Impact Wrestling. However, he would lose the next two, the tag team, and the X Division title at the next pay-per-view, No Surrender 2007. So with that being said, this was my results and show review of Impact Wrestling Hard Justice 2007. You don't want to hear the rest of the music and video, turn the video off right now.
Say what, she's